I like games. You, in fact, probably like games. When it comes to games, there's many types of games. Some are shooters, some are first-person RPG style, some are kind of questionable to say the least, but nothing hits that sweet spot like a story-driven game for me. Story-driven games, regardless of type, give a player something to follow and believe in. Dark Souls, for example, is the story of a slighted royalty, love, loss, and in general, just a lot of tragedy. In my opinion, no one does this world building better than the studio that brought you Dark Souls. But that isn't why you're here. No, indeed. You're here because of the title. We're not here to talk about the best. We're here to talk about arguably number two. And we could talk about a lot, but I want to focus on one plot line at a time. Today, we're talking about Honkai Star Rail, and more specifically, the story of Penacony. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be your most valiant lore scholar, as someone who is only aware of the current game lore as a 2.2 and only knows crumbs about Honkai Impact. May I repeat, crumbs? As much as has been revealed to me through the game, I don't plan on playing Honkai Impact 3rd. I will not. I have other gacha games that I play, aka Woo-Wah. I do not plan on playing Honkai Impact 3rd, but I must say, Welt, my man, wow. On that note, I can only vouch for so much. However, the story of Penacony is an interesting one. A couple of things before we start. I do not work for Hoyoverse. As much as I legitimately enjoy the idea of being a Hoyoverse partner, which I'm sure after my shorts is not something that I will ever get offered, unfortunately, but please, Hoyo, please. I'm only aware of how far my little lore scholar brain will take me, which is far, but not to the point of definitive. And I will only be covering the most important parts of figuring out what exactly is going on here. I do have to warn that there will be spoilers for the main story, so before you get yourself in the twist, I have already warned you as such. And because I do plan to use some footage, I do need to make a little legal jargon here, so I apologize. I am not Hoyoverse, nor am I pretending to be Hoyoverse, whether they're teams or devs, etc. The things I have to say are simply my thoughts and ideas and are not a final opinion or say. As well, the copyright laws of the United States recognizes a fair use of copyrighted content. Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act states, notwithstanding the provisions in Sections 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or phonorecords, or by any other means specified by that section for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. This video and our YouTube channel in general may contain certain copyrighted works that were not specifically authorized to be used by the copyright holders, but which we believe in good faith are protected by federal law and the fair use doctrine for one or more reasons noted above. If you have any specific concerns about this video or our position on the fair use defense, or if you want to work with me, Hoyo, please contact us at the email address in my about so we can discuss this amicably. Thanks. For the viewer, this video will be long, as I plan to go in depth with everything presented, and I do plan on recording this in several parts. So I'm probably planning on releasing this as part 1 once 2.4 comes out and I can put my thoughts together. I will be releasing a part 2. So just keep that in mind. This is part 1. So let's get started. What is Penacony and its history? Penacony, known as the Planet of Festivities, is located in the Asdana star system. To quote the databank, the Planet of Festivities in the Asdana star system, also known as the Land of Dreams. A luxurious hotel positioned above the fathomless sky. Penacony is also a vacation spot where interstellar celebrities party the days away and the affluent from diverse worlds revel in lavish ventures. People flock here in search of dreams they have longed for or have already buried, and through dream pools in the hotel, are transported to a realm of dreams where everything can come true. Rarely do guests pay attention to Penacony's heavy past. A millennium ago, it was a frontier prison established by the IPC. Exiled prisoners must survive an arduous journey across vast distances to reach this location, and are then forced to take up a duty, to mend the leak through which Memoria seeps into the galaxy. As they labor while being exposed to Memoria, the prisoners gradually discover themselves entering a captivating shared dream world, where they obtain a single shared desire: freedom. After the eruption of the Cancer of all worlds, the ownership of the frontier prison changed hands. Historical records related to the struggle clearly state that with the assistance of various factions, including the mourning actors, shocker, the masked fools, shocker, the nameless, no one's surprise, and the omen vanguards, the prisoners emerged as the new rulers of this nascent realm. Sounds of discord could then periodically be heard during the subsequent times, where it became a land of exiles. It was only when the family descended and took control of the dreamscape that Penacony experienced unparalleled and explosive prosperity, transforming into a renowned cosmic resort. First of all, the morning actors getting involved, I guess I could see where they could get involved, but the masked fools, it's like Aha and Akavili. They always end up involved somehow. Now, it should be noted right offhand that Penacony does actually have a meaning. Penacony, or penal colony. All of you people who realize that, you will have like 5-star lore brain. I did not catch that until I really thought about it. According to Wikipedia, a penal colony, or exile colony, is a settlement used to exile prisoners and separate them from the general population by placing them in a remote location, often an island or distant colonial territory. Although the term can be used to refer to a correctional facility located in a remote location, it is more commonly used to refer to communities of prisoners overseen by wardens or governors having absolute authority. Historically, penal colonies have often been used for penal labor in an economically underdeveloped part of a state or colony's territories, and on a far larger scale than a prison farm. So if that sounds incredibly familiar and it itches a part of your brain that you were like, why do I know that phrase? Nice, good that you caught that. You are right on the nose. The most notable penal colonies are Australia and French Guiana. And these places were not glamorous. These people were prisoners that would often live their entire lives without any hope of returning home. So that tells you a lot about what the IPC had made Penacony into. All my homies hate the IPC. There are a few different species that live on Penacony. There's the human population, the Pepeshi, the Intellitrons, and the Holovians. And the planet is divided into 2 sections. So there's the dreamscape and the reality. So, when it comes to Holovians, Pom Pom describes the Holovians as such. The dignified Holovians are stars and icons across the universe. They possess voices and appearances that can shake one's soul, halos that dazzle gazes, and wings behind their ears that paint them in a divine disposition. They seem born into the love and admiration of other species and people. Holovians are blessed with shrewdness, and few can peer past their mysterious and elegant smiles. However, the Holovians do not hide their hearts from everyone, and the radiating frequencies of their halo can convey the nature of their thoughts in the form of telepathy. Makes you wonder whatever Sunday had going on. As of present, the Holovians often bear responsibilities in the Oak and Iris families, and every Holovian in Penacony is a member of the family, using their natural charisma to expand and influence of harmony. Now, the Pepeshi, they're those little like creatures that look like children. They're actually not kids. As much as like they look like they're actually not kids. A lot of them are like grown people. They're like grown-ups. So the Pepeshi are smart. They're passionate about knowledge. They want to gain riches. They're basically little go-getters. I love them for it. Good for them. They have a desire to seek money and wealth and knowledge. They want to see undiscovered opportunities. Usually they are striving for a lot of higher potential. They were actually the ones that understood Genius Society number 55, Yu Qingto, the toxic cocktail, the Thalin Toxiflame, and they actually were the ones that introduced counterfeit drinks like the Thalin Mistaflame, the Thalin Hydroflame, and the Thalin Detoxiflame, with each of them being entirely harmless and alcohol-free. The Pepeshi people in modern-day Penacony, they work under the Alfalfa family in the scheme of money. They work with construction in the Nightingale family, or they are searching for their own goals as their own little dream chasers. The one thing they want more than anything is to work for the Gilded Hour. Intellitrons are different too. So they originate from populations where there's inorganic life. They have these inorganic life zones, and they are machines with minds directed by programming, but however, they're very interested in organic culture. They like traveling to various hubs in the cosmos, and despite being mechanical life forms, they can actually enter the dreamscape of Penacony themselves. We see them a couple of times. But it does suggest that the Intellitrons bear the same type of soul or neurological structure as other life forms. Interesting. Interesting. So to talk about Penacony, in the reality, although it's called the planet of festivities, it's actually kind of like a giant space station. There's the Reverie Hotel, and it's surrounded by 2 small disks that orbit it. These disks have land masses, bodies of water, and those were said to have been the deserts during the exiles' time. City buildings can be seen on both sides of the disks. And like I said, Penacony is located in Asdana, and this star system is actually brimming with Memoria, which has historically been one of the macro voids, and that's leaked out of the memory zone. The Memoria concentration that surrounds Penacony is very obviously above normal levels. Now, in the dreamscape, Penacony's dreamscape is divided into 12 main dream worlds. Each of these are like a moment on the clock. So we have the moment of stars, daybreak, soul, scorched sand, oasis, dusk, blue hour, serenity, golden hour, which we know very well, morning dew, and gilded hour. Moment of stars is based on the 11th hour of the clock. Golden hour is the one we're most familiar with. Morning dew is where the Dewlight Pavilion is. That's where, so we know that one because we've gone to see Sunday, but that's where his house was. There is also the Scorched Sand, has taverns, festive venues. Dusk has a shopping paradise. Soul is steeped in history. Daybreak is where factories are. Gilded Hour is where the currency center is. There's also the Blue Hour, which actually has the airship, which if you watch the trailer for 2.3, we are actually going to Blue Hour to ride the Radiant Felspar. And it's part of a area in the Blue Hour, and it has a large boat called the Eventide that's anchored in the Sea of Dreams, where there's music and dance that persist endlessly. The moment of Oasis has a beach. The moment of Stars has clubs and casinos and all sorts of other things. So a little bit about the history of Penacony. Before Akavili's fall, Penacony, like I said, was a barren wasteland. It was a prison planet for the IPC. Again, all our homies hate the IPC. Even Aventurine hates the IPC. So does Topaz, I'm sure. It's called Being Held Against Your Will. Anyway, TLDR, we all hate the IPC here. This also was a place where the inmates would also retrieve memory bubbles for the Garden of Recollection. Black Swan, I am looking to with the side eye, in hope of stopping the catastrophe from spreading. The prison began cutting off access from reality, and eventually the IPC lost control when there was a Stellon corrosion. And eventually it started turning into what we know today. Now, as we know, when we came to Penacony, is that we were all invited, but we were invited by Gallagher, who was under the order of Mikhail, who was one of the trailblazers, not trailblazers, one of the nameless that actually stayed on Penacony. So when the family, quote, quote, extended their invitation to the Everflame Mansion, Everflame Mansion thought they were going to come and just destroy everything, but that was ended by Acheron, obviously. Now that you know just some about Penacony, I want to talk about a couple of different things. The number 13. When we turn around and speak to Gallagher and ask his age, his answer is that he's 13, which sounds weird, right? Why is someone who obviously isn't 13 saying he's 13? You might say he's being sarcastic. Maybe he's making an attempt at being funny in order to add some comedic relief in an obviously dark story. However, many people have pointed out after finishing the story that there may be more to 13 than meets the eye, considering his connection to Sleepy. In tarot, the 13th card means death. This is such a tiny little detail that unless you knew tarot or you're actively thinking about whether Gallagher was the good guy or not, which truly he had me fooled, you might have actually missed this. I didn't notice it until people started bringing it up. Now, it's to note that there's nothing here that would indicate which way the tarot may be facing. that might have been up to interpretation. However, I am inclined to believe in regards to how Gallagher is meaning it when he says so, that the meaning should be taken as so. According to Tarot.com, the death card is not about the literal death of any person. It may represent the death of something else, like a project, plan, or relationship. This card also points to a time of harvest, symbolized in classical decks by the reaping skeleton. Unless the fruits of summer are harvested, they are lost to winter's harshness, and the people do not eat. As the scythe cuts the cords that link us to the past, it liberates us to go forward without fear, because we have nothing left to lose. Everything being pruned away is recycled for the fertility of the future, so that nothing is really ever lost, despite seasonal cycles of gain and loss. You could also say from the numerology side that maybe by saying it, Gallagher believed he'd have good luck, as according to the number 13 in numerology, the number 13 is associated with the divine and is said to bring good luck and prosperity to those who embrace it. Though I'm more on the line of it being the death card, as it's also something interesting to note as well. Septimus Dominicus. It's really interesting to me how Hoyoverse uses the languages of Italian, Latin, and German. I'm also not surprised that a game originating from Hoyo, a Chinese company, would have some themes of religion. We see references to Taoism and Buddhism in the Xianshou Lefu, especially referencing themes of reincarnation in reference to long scions, or the Vidyadhara. With Penacony, we see many references to Christianity and Catholicism, whether it may be by the imagery of the Holovians to biblically accurate angels, or the fact that the harmony, quote-unquote, has what is seen to be a church or a Catholic confessional booth. To talk about it a bit, Sunday, the seventh day, the day that in the Bible, in Genesis, is noted as the day that God rested after creating the universe. Genesis 2, 1-3 says, "By the seventh day God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done." Septimus in Latin means seven. It is also interesting to me that Septimus was also a very common and popular Latin name, usually referring to the seventh son of a family. While Sunday isn't the seventh, it makes me wonder if perhaps Sunday may not even be his true name, more of a name he took on with the family. Dominicus is Roman Italic, the name meaning lordly or belonging to God. It's implied in my opinion that Robin and Sunday may be twins, and there are some allegories with them in reference to good and evil, though I would argue truly that Sunday fits more of the idea of the willing villain, or a villain who has willingly chose the path for another higher reason. Im Anfang war die Tat, im Anfang war das Wort. You might have noticed there are languages that are part of Septimus's skills. They are also something that is so intrinsically connected to Sunday and the idea of order. These phrases are in German, a language that I'm actually somewhat familiar with. Thanks, Nana, for the exposure to this language. One motion is before his ultimate, and the other is his ultimate. Im Anfang war die Tat is roughly translated as in the beginning was or is the act. This is a process to Sunday's third phase that he counts to 7 before his ultimate. With this, you see that he has 7 phases that he counts. His ultimate, Im Anfang war das Wort, roughly translates to, and that was the beginning. This choice of wording is actually purposeful, believe it or not. Faust, a Tragedy by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, quotes, and please forgive me, I haven't touched German in a second. Schon man mich was, da ich dabei nicht bleib. Mir hilft der Geist. Auf einmal sarik rad und schriebe getrost. Im Anfang war die Tat. Which translates roughly to, I've already been warned not to stay with it. The spirit helps me. Suddenly I see advice and write confidently, in the beginning was the act. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was an influential writer during the 1800s, known for his works like Faust. He was known for some odd takes, as well as some religious interest. His works would often detail incredibly specific tragedies. His work, Faust, was the inspiration for many operas, which when you consider Sunday calls to his form as Dominicus Septimus, it's a maestro. Maestros are very common in Broadway, so or not Broadway, but operas. Very common, so it makes sense. It should be noted that, like I said, Goethe was incredibly questionable. he had some pretty hot takes that, for the sake of the possibility of this being monetized, I am not going to talk about, but just keep that in mind if you look into him. To turn it back to undertones, even the scene with the confessional is a reference to Catholicism, and even the way Sunday's final form is an embryo of philosophy indicative of her birth, you're not doing yourself any favors, my guy. Her birth, especially in Catholicism and Protestantism, regarding the resurrection or rebirth of Christ, is a big thought here. When analyzing more of the story, I am definitely more inclined to believe Catholicism or Protestantism was a big inspiration for Penacony, added to the themes here of what I believe may truly be religious guilt. Past riders via Enter the Order. To be honest, we need to remember two things. 1. Enna was absorbed by Xipe. 2. There is not much known about past riders. The closest we've seen to a past rider has been Gallagher. He's a really interesting guy. He's a pathfinder of the Enigmata. But it's highly implied with the wording that Sunday is also a past rider of the Order, even to the point that he says that his duty as a past rider is so. Gallagher seems to me like a past rider, especially in the fact that in 2.2 he is confirmed to be a follower of the Enigmata and the history fictionologist. If you know anything about history fictionologists, they are known for being past riders of the Order. Or not the Order, the Enigmata. As of 2.2, we have confirmed that Sunday is a past rider, but that sets down what might happen going forward, as he's alive. At least I believe so. However, one thing we may be able to infer is that Sunday was either trying to bring a dead Aeon to life, or was attempting to become an Aeon himself without his knowledge. So that is the first part of this. It's getting to be about 22 minutes, and I don't want to be too long, but I will be making a part 2 to this where I'm going to talk about more of the symbolism. I'm going to talk more about Acheron and the choice of Acheron to the fact that she helps the dead and some other things as well. I want to see what 2.3 brings before I even do anything, because I'm feeling like there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to need to add to this or amend. So if you enjoyed this so far, please make sure to hit subscribe. Let me know that you enjoyed it. If there's anything else that I missed that you would want me to talk about and research, please leave it in the comments. Again, I just want to reiterate, these are my opinions, not at all facts. I have a definite interest in lore, and so this has been something that has been bugging me for the longest time. But let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!